Brace yourselves, folks. The Duke of Sussex has just detonated an emotional bombshell in court, and no one saw it coming. But was it genuine emotion or just a well-rehearsed performance designed to capture the hearts of the public? Prince Harry's showdown in London's courtroom was nothing short of a spectacle, one that will go down in history as both riveting and utterly revealing. And you want to know the most shocking thing? It wasn't the royals, the media, or the judge that caused the drama, it was Harry himself. The scene that unfolded was like something straight out of a high-octane courtroom drama. Harry, looking visibly rattled, found himself thrust into the witness stand an entire day earlier than planned. Accusations of a deliberate ambush by Associated Newspapers filled the air, and Harry's legal team claimed it was a calculated attack. But here's the twist. Not everyone's buying it. Legal experts are saying this entire ambush narrative is nothing but a performance designed to make Harry look like the victim. Enter Jonathan Goldberg, a seasoned criminal defense lawyer who's seen it all. He looked at what went down in that courtroom and declared that Harry's ambush claim is complete nonsense. Goldberg, who's tried over 100 cases, didn't hesitate to say what everyone else was thinking. This was not an unprepared prince caught off guard by the system. No, this was a performance. A carefully orchestrated performance to make Harry seem helpless and ill-prepared while he was actually doing everything he could to manipulate the public perception. Let's talk about the real drama here, Harry's own behavior. From the very first moment, it was clear he was ready for battle. He arrived at court looking a little frailed. But don't be fooled, this wasn't a man caught off guard. Oh no. This was someone who spent years plotting this legal war against the media, and now it was his time to shine. This was supposed to be the moment Harry took down the tabloids once and for all, but instead it turned into a full-blown war. The tension was palpable. The room was electric with expectation. Would Harry finally win his battle with the press? Or would he make a fatal mistake? As the cross-examination started, the gloves came off. Harry didn't just sit there quietly answering questions, he was fighting back. He interrupted, he challenged, and he argued every point, looking less like a sympathetic fear and more like someone who couldn't let go of his vendetta. In a British civil court, there's no jury. The only person who matters is the judge. And when Harry started to argue, the judge had no choice but to intervene, repeatedly reminding him that he was there to answer questions, not to prosecute his own case. But here's the twist, this wasn't an accident. Both sides knew exactly what was happening. Harry's team was hoping to portray him as a victim, someone forced into a fight he didn't choose. Meanwhile, Associated Newspapers wanted to push him to his breaking point, knowing this would make for compelling television. Both sides were playing the game, carefully maneuvering for advantage, with the entire world watching. Now let's talk about the big moment. The moment that turned the entire courtroom's attention on Harry. It was the moment the media had been waiting for, the emotional breakdown. Harry, choking back tears, allegedly broke down while speaking about his wife, Meghan Markle. The cameras went wild. The headlines exploded. People watching at home gasped. The prince, on the stand, vulnerable and human, breaking down over his wife. But here's the twist. Meghan has absolutely nothing to do with this case. That's right. The articles Harry is suing over were published before he even met Meghan. So why was he crying about her? Why was this emotional display so perfectly timed? Just when he was facing some of the toughest questions? Was it genuine? Or was it another carefully planned move designed to manipulate the media? Narrative? Goldberg, the expert, weighs in. He makes it clear this was all calculated. Lawyers advise their clients on emotional displays. If you're feeling emotional, let it out. But the question is, was Harry genuinely moved? Or was this just another move in his ongoing media war? And let's be real here, that emotional breakdown came at the perfect moment. It came when Harry needed the public sympathy the most. But here's where it gets even juicier. Harry, as we all know, has been involved in a bitter legal fight over his security arrangements. And guess what? He was spotted in Parliament during his own court trial, causing quite the stir. What was he doing there? It raises questions that no one can ignore. Was he plotting his next move in his ongoing security battle, or was he just looking for more attention? Some legal experts believe Harry's obsession with security reveals a deeper issue. His demand for taxpayer-funded protection seems to be more about status than actual safety. And if you ask people in the know, they'll tell you that this is just another example of Harry's sense of entitlement. his inability to understand the privilege he holds. He's demanding protection from the state while simultaneously arguing that ordinary people shouldn't be treated the same. The hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. Let's not forget about the book Spare, the memoir that was supposed to give Harry closure, but instead exposed all kinds of dirty family secrets. And now here he is, fighting for privacy and privacy alone, yet he doesn't hesitate to sell his family's most intimate moments for a cool $20 million. So where do we draw the line? Privacy for me, but not for thee. And then there's the drug admissions. Remember those. Harry admitted to using cocaine, marijuana, and psychedelic mushrooms. Ordinary people who admit to this on their visa applications are routinely denied entry into the US. But Harry? He waltzed right in. There's a reason why people are raising eyebrows about his so-called struggles. The rules just don't apply to him, do they? Jonathan Goldberg draws a comparison here, one that should haunt both Harry and Meghan. He likens them to Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson, the royals who were forced into exile. Like Harry, they chose love over duty, and now they are consumed by bitterness and endless battles. But there's one glaring difference. Edward and Wallace faded into obscurity while Harry and Meghan refused to go anywhere quietly. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they're willing to burn every bridge to do it. Now let's talk about the statute of limitations, the ticking time bomb under this entire case. If Harry waited too long to file his lawsuit, it could all fall apart. And guess what? Evidence suggests he might have waited longer than he should have. This could be a fatal blow to his case, and the press is already circling. If this case is dismissed on a technicality, it's not going to be pretty for Harry. But wait, there's more. What happens when the journalists who wrote those articles are forced to reveal their sources? Will they face contempt of court charges? Will they be exposed for their role in feeding the media frenzy? The pressure on them is immense, and if the sources do come forward, it's going to be a real mess. As this case continues, it's becoming clear that Harry's legal battle is about far more than media coverage. It's about his image, his dignity, and his fight to reclaim control over his narrative. But there's one thing we all need to remember. He's not the only one with secrets. What will come to light in this trial could change everything. This is a truly historic case, but with all the theatrics, emotional displays, and high stakes, it's impossible to predict where it'll go. What we do know is this. Prince Harry's showdown in court isn't just a legal battle, it's a fight for his legacy, his future, and his place in history. And if the judge's keen eye catches anything suspicious, that could be game over. Let's step back for a moment and take a look at the bigger picture. Prince Harry, once the golden boy of the British royal family, has now transformed into something entirely different, a self-styled crusader, a man fighting an endless war against the media, the monarchy, and anyone else who dares to challenge him. This legal battle is not just about articles in tabloids, it's about Harry's attempt to rewrite his own narrative. But here's where things get messy. Harry's involvement in this case isn't just about seeking justice for the wrongs done to him, it's about vindication. Every lawsuit he files, every testimony he gives, and every emotional outburst he makes in court seems calculated to prove one thing, that he was right. That he was right to abandon the royal family. That he was right to criticize the press. That he was right to stand up for his wife Meghan. And perhaps, most importantly, that he was right to burn every bridge that once tied him to his former life. But here's the rub. If you talk to legal experts, they'll tell you that Harry's behavior in court is less about seeking truth and more about seeking attention. That's right, Harry, the prince who once lived in the shadows of his more famous brother, is now playing the game for all the headlines. And why not? The more the media covers his every move, the more control he gains over his story. Every tear, every emotional moment, every courtroom clash only adds fuel to the fire. It might not be about winning in court anymore. It's about winning the narrative. And let's not overlook Harry's desperation to reclaim some sense of normalcy in his life. He wants to be seen as just another person, not just a prince. He wants to shed the trappings of royal privilege. Yet in his fight against the press, he's only further entrenching himself in the very spotlight he says he despises. This constant tug-of-war between wanting privacy and demanding attention isn't just hypocritical, it's unsustainable. Harry can't have it both ways. Now, if you're paying attention, you'll notice that there's a dangerous game at play here, a game of perception. The British media, who Harry insists ruined his life, are now his biggest audience. Every time Harry takes the stand, every time he makes a tearful plea, the press eats it up. They paint him as the underdog fighting against the evil tabloids. The public buys into the image of a prince in distress, desperately seeking redemption for the wrongs done to him. But here's the twist: who is really benefiting from all of this? Harry is gaining more than just court victories. He's gaining followers. He's gaining a fan base that rallies behind him, even as he goes to war with his own family and his country's media. With every move, every lawsuit, he strengthens his position as a rebel prince, a figurehead for those who feel victimized by the system. But at what cost? The deeper we dig into this case, the more we see that it isn't just about media intrusion. It's about a man who has lost his way, a man who's become the narrative. From the day he left the royal family, Harry set out to redefine himself. But with each legal battle, with each courtroom drama, he's only doubling down on a life of self-made chaos. So, where does this end? Will Harry ever find peace, or is he doomed to be trapped in an endless cycle of litigation, emotional displays, and media scrutiny? The truth is, no one really knows. But as long as the cameras are rolling, Harry will continue to play the game, making moves designed not just to win in court, but to win in the court of public opinion. And as long as he's fighting for redemption, one thing is certain: